And today I'm going to present you a tool which I created some time ago to manage and create API documents using a really simple syntax called MSON. And the backend of the application is powered by Symfony API framework. So you know that it's very powerful and flexible and scalable. And my presentation, first I'll be talking about why a good API documentation matters, and then I'll be discussing some areas that I think could be improved in the existing API documentation tools. And then I'll be covering my new API documenter tool, as well as I'll be giving some demonstration about MSON, and then we'll get some hands-on experience on the tool as well as MSON and future enhancements of the product. Right, let's begin. So why a good API documentation matters? It's an essential document, obviously, which explains your services. And if you have a solid API document, means for internal as well as external users, it will become easy for them to use your document and get the job done. Hence, you will have your API experts working on your APIs instead of supporting your users or API users. And the API documentation not just helps your techies or developers or with a technical background, it should help everyone as well, whether they have the same level of background or not, to get the big picture. And if you have a solid document or good document, it improves the user satisfaction because it's clear and can get the job done without a hassle. And so what makes a solid API document? The document must be easy to follow, and it needs to be simple, but still powerful enough to give enough information so they can make use of it without any help, and a well-organized structure. What I meant by well-organized structure is you should be able to group your endpoints in a logical manner. For instance, nowadays you already realize that to call an API, first you need to get some authentication endpoints to call and get some tokens and so on. So it makes sense to arrange those authentication endpoints in the top of the document, and then the data or the CRUD side of the endpoints at the bottom of the document, or however logically you wish to arrange it. So a well-organized structure really matters. And testable code examples. So that helps the developers, whoever using the endpoint, to know, all right, this is how it should be. And it needs to be mobile friendly. Moving on to the next section of my presentation, I would like to talk about some areas that when I was using existing API documenting tools, there are lots of nice tools, obviously, and just lots of amazing features. However, though, I noticed that the look and feel of the API document could be either simplified or improved. So it kind of the document gives some sort of flavor to the endpoint customer, if you like, some sort of a customization ability. And the structure of the document can also be improved in many of those tools, so it makes sense, or it can be arranged in a logical order. And obviously, it's good if the tool uses easy to learn language, such as MSON, which I will cover in my next slides. And most importantly, the non-tech personnel, if decides to take care of the API documentation or management side of the company, that person should be able to create or manage, get access to the document or manage the things without lots of technical background. So I find this great existing tools, it's a bit difficult or challenging for a person from non-technical background to come in and create documents and share those documents in a simplified approach. And also a document must be able to easily manage. So for instance, what I meant by this is imagine like a large company. They already have the system built, and what they want to do is they just need to get their documents and deliver to desired target audience or customers. To do that, they might not necessarily hire technical people to do that. So an easy way to create documents, maintain, and obviously share can be simplified in these platforms. So when I wanted to maintain some of my API endpoints, which I created some time ago, and also to share with the designated audience. So when I was going through these existing products, I thought these things could be improved, and why not I merge the good stuff and build up my own tool, which tick the boxes that which I find lacking in the current products. So this leads me into move to the next slide, which is creating my own documentation tool, which is APIDocumenter.com. So what is APIDocumenter.com? It's an online platform built using Symfony API framework for the backend, which creates API documents which are user-friendly for your endpoints. And it uses a very easy to learn language, a syntax called MSON, which I'll be covering in one of my next slides. And using MSON resource groups, this tool helps you to group your endpoints in a logical order. And this tool provides you the ability to, or give you the option to change or edit your document and see instant preview side by side. And also it has an inbuilt blueprint validator where the tool validates your correctness of the syntax. And also the option to straight run your endpoints from the document itself, or grab the URL and run it elsewhere, which I'll be covering in my presentation. And also the tool provides you a very simple approach to organize and control access to your document, make it private, public, and make it publish or unpublish. And obviously share your documents with customers. To help me explain this point well, I'm going to bring up this image, which in the tool, when you create a document, you can attach a document to a customer, and you can attach users to the customer, where you can share your document to designated customers or designated users. So this is the document sharing model this APIDocumenter offers you to the users. So we talked about many times MSON. We mentioned MSON. So what is MSON? MSON is Markdown syntax for object notation, which is a really easy, human-readable plain text form representation data structure, which if I bring up a very simple screenshot, which tells you how you would write a basic endpoint like get your messages in a MSON way. This is how you would write it. I will for your benefit, and I will cover these elements in the screenshot. As you can see in the very top, there's a format for your document using MSON, which is the metadata of the document, which has a version attached to it. And in this screenshot, you'll find this group syntax and the message. So that means this message is a group of endpoints, a collection, if you like. And each group, we have number of endpoints. In this example, we only got one, and has an endpoint, a URL called messages, and a description. And in this arrow where you see, it tells this endpoint which uses get and some meaningful description to your endpoint. And in the next arrow, you see how the request is formed and what are the headers if need to be sent, and what will the response be if it's 200, and what the headers of the response will be, and the body. As you can see, it's fairly straightforward, and it's very much readable because it's in plain English, and it's logical in terms of the sequence. And MSON is open source and under MIT, and it's very easy to learn. There are plenty of examples in APIblueprint.org website. And there's another good thing about MSON is you can better design your endpoints using data structures. What I mean by this is, for instance, if you look at this screenshot on the right-hand side, this says as an endpoint to bring blog posts using get. And a blog post brings list of blogs, an array of blogs, which is a type of blog. So on the left-hand side on the screen, you will see a blog has an ID, text, and author. So you can actually describe an endpoint or describe a result using data structures. You can neatly arrange using data structures. That's another good thing on MSON. And there's a wider community support where GitHub recognizes .apib extension and plethora of tools and implementation for testing or for parsing, such as Thread. Right, I talked a lot. Just kidding. I would like to do some hands-on going forward, and to help me with that, let me bring up my browser to the screen. I hope you can see my screen. And so this is one of the documents I created using the tool. This is an API document for a store called Supermarket Store, obviously a test document, which I created for the presentation. And as you can see, it has a logo and a title and some introduction and the endpoint. And as I described before, there are lots of chances that you will need to define your authentication endpoints at the top of the document and then the data endpoints, the CRUD operations. As you can see, there are a couple of endpoints under authentication and few under data. And if you drill down into one of these things, you get all the information that you required to, for instance, get an authentication token. It tells you what this endpoint is, what the URL, and what would the request be, and what will the response be. And if it's successful, it returns like this. And if it's unsuccessful, returns like this. And also the tool also gives you the opportunity to straight run endpoints without leaving the document. For instance, if you click this run button, it opens up a pop-up where you can enter inputs and straight run and see the result. For this presentation, I have created it. I'm going to run this endpoint. I'm going to copy a previously created token, which I will need to run this API, which I'm going to paste in here. And I'm going to press run. When you run, you will see the API will get called here. And also, if this is not enough, obviously you can copy the CURL, like pressing CURL here and opening up a tool like Postman, which I will be bringing to the screen now. So you have Postman, and you go to File, and you go Import, and go to raw text, and you just paste the copied CURL, and you press Continue, press Import, and I will be using a previously generated token for this because this endpoint needs a secret to call. And when you call this, you get the result. So it has the ability either to straight do the testing from the tool or take it elsewhere and do the testing. And yeah, I'm not going to obviously cover all these other elements. Just want to show you a quick another example. API documentation created for a CRM sheet, which has authentication endpoints and endpoints to bring membership information, to bring invoice information and transactions, events, and so on. So you can arrange things in a more logical order. And obviously you can use navigation if you want to get to the endpoint. Right, I am going to now show you how I created this, or the MSON behind this document. To do that, I'm going to log into my tool. And so this API document is a tool I created. And as soon as you log in, you will be directed to a page where you have all your endpoints. And this is the one I was showing you earlier. What I'm going to do is I'm going to press edit. When you press edit, you will be presented with this screen where on the left-hand side, you have an MSON editor. And on the right-hand side, where you see your end result. And as I showed you in the example earlier, in the MSON example, it starts with a format, which is the metadata. And I have added this host to support the platform so you can get the URL in the document. And it is very, very straightforward. You define hash, and that becomes the title of the documentation and some description. And then here you see the groups where you can arrange endpoints inside groups. To get some, give some flavor for MSON, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly add another endpoint under authentication to destroy authentication token. To do that, I'm going to simply copy one of these endpoints and paste it under get authentication token. So I'm going to get some space first, and I'm going to copy get authentication token, and I'm going to paste it here. When I paste, you will see that you get an error. That's because I can't have obviously same endpoint twice. This now tells you there's an error in the line 48, which is the token, full-size token endpoint is already defined. So this actually gives you a meaningful information to debug. If this is not enough, you can obviously click here and go to the API blueprint website and get more information. And I'll touch base on that before I come out from the tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the endpoint to, let's say, destroy token. And once I do this, then this document will get updated and you will see the third endpoint. I'm going to give it a name saying destroy authentication token. And obviously, I'm not going to write down the entire thing. So it will be different to your specific requirement. You will be giving a meaningful description, and you'll be arranging the request, what the request will be, what are the headers, and what will the response be, and what will the response body be. And this is how quickly you can stick another endpoint to the document. And if you want to add a whole group to the document, let's say we got authentication group and we got data group, and if you wish to add let's say a report, what you can do is I'm just going to copy one of these groups again. And previously I copied just an endpoint. Now I'm going to copy with the group, and I'm going to get some space at the end, and I'm going to paste it here. As I paste, you will see that my endpoint has some semantic problems, which is the token is already defined and the group authentication is already defined. So that tells me I need to change my group. So I'm going to change it to reports and obviously give some meaningful description in your case and change the endpoint. And when this refreshes, you will have the third block, and you can customize it the way it suits your requirements. Instead of obviously get authentication token, it will be get reports or products or something like that. Obviously, it's specific to your requirement. And this is how easily you can add a group to the document. And there are lots of other validations MSON supports. For instance, you can if you define the same header twice, and it gives you some sort of validation. Because, for instance, I just copied and pasted secret header, and it says secret header is already defined as a duplicate. So it gives you some meaningful validation where you can get some help as you code. So we just edited one of these documents which we showed earlier. So I'm going to go back, and So this is the main sort of dashboard where you have all the endpoints. And for you, if you like to create a new document, it's very easy. Just come here, add new document, and just give your document a meaningful name. Let's say Symfony Meetup. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to stick a document to a customer. I have created a few customers before, so I'm going to attach to one of my customers. And I'm going to make this document private. It means anyone from that customer will be able to, are the only people who can access this document. And I'm not going to make it publish because I'm just going to create. And there's an option you can populate sample data. What happens is when you tick this box, when you create, it creates that marvelous store endpoint as a starting point, where you document as a starting point, then you can make use of it and change it to how you like your endpoint document to be. So I'm going to press create, and that document will get added here. And this is your document with some predefined data. Obviously, you can give your document some sort of a flavor to match with your organization or your audience by clicking this change, by pressing this change logo button, and you can just stick a logo, pick a logo from your machine. And if you like to crop, you can just give it a crop and just to suit your resolution. And here's the logo here. And if you go now preview, and you will see that this document will get updated with the logo and so on. So just some sort of a customizing ability to the document. Right, and it's going to go back. If you want to create customers, it's very easy. Just go to my customers and add new customer, stick a name and press create, and that will get added to this list. And go to my users and add new user to attach users to that customer. It's very easy. And just pick a customer from the list and tie it with an email. And what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to quickly share this document with one of my other user accounts I created before. To do that, if you want to share this document with a customer, you go to this list and press this access, and it will take you to a different page. And on this page, you'll be able to see who are the customers who already got access to this. As I created this with my test customer, you can see it here. To add more customers, you can click the set up new access and pick customers from the list, and that will get set up as well. So I'm going to open up another browser, and I'm going to log in as one of my other accounts. Right. Just to show you that where it is appearing in the customer account. I'm going to paste my password, and if you go to the shared with me section on the left, you can see that the document is appeared here, and it's not currently published because I didn't publish it. If you try to view this, and you will get a message saying it's not published, check back later. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the document and I'm going to make it published by go to edit, and there's a tick here. You can just tick publish, and that will, if I just give a refresh, this is my other account, customer account. If I give a refresh, that will be published, and obviously I can view that document. And hence this is private. If you are signed out, you can't see this document. Just going to copy this link, and I'm going to hope I copied the correct one. Copy link and go to sign out and paste, and you won't be having access to this because it is private to that customer. Right, and this kind of comes to the end of the tool. And that if you need more information, or if you are new to MSON, if you would like to learn MSON, and there are lots of examples in this API Blueprint website, which there are specifications, cheat sheets, and all sort of examples here. And if you go to tools section and that under editors, you can also see my tool is listed on this side. So this is the sort of body who maintains API blueprint, which is the MSON format on the web. So happy to say that my tool is listed there. And so this kind of ends the presentation about this MSON and the tool. I'm going to sign out, and I'm going to bring back my presentation slide again. Right. So yeah, we were here, and as a future enhancements, thinking of improving MSON supportability on the tool. It currently do not support everything MSON has to support because it's a vast amount of syntaxes, and it does lots of good things. But it supports enough for you to create a beautiful document and get your message delivered to your target audience without a problem. And also thinking of making the tool so many people can collaborate and write documents and obviously see edits and change logs and give the ability to group APIs inside the platform in a logical manner, like collections, and obviously to give more UI templates and themes for your document, so it makes more closer to your company's colors and logos and fonts and so on. As you can see, currently the document organizes the contents, organizes in a what I described on the left side of the screenshot, and maybe just to give it a different way how to show it, and maybe some other ways. If you have any ideas, yeah, please feel free to give your ideas to me. And right, and that's it from the presentation. And once again, thank you, Neil and everyone at UK Symfony Group and whoever tuned in here to watch this presentation. And if you like the tool, please give it a go and let me know what you think about it. And if you like to stay in touch, I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn, and feel free to reach. Once again, thank you very much, Paul. I'm handing control back to Neil.